Welcome back to today's lecture, lesson number 8, Useful and Harmful Microorganisms. Today, we are going to learn about Rhizobium, a symbiotic bacteria. Symbiotic bacteria is the one which forms association with either plants, animals or fungus in which bacteria as well as the host both are benefited. Example, Rhizobium bacteria forms association with the root nodules of higher plants. Plants provide shelter to the bacteria and bacteria helps in nitrogen fixation. Bacteria is associated with fungi which forms lichens. Anabaena, which is a blue-green algae, forms association with the roots of cycas, that is Gymnosperm. Roots here are called Coralloid roots. Rhizobium bacteria have ability to take atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into soluble form. These bacteria live in the roots of leguminous plants. Rhizobium is found in soil bacteria. Rhizobium basically found in soil. Most bacteria in soil are about 1 micron in length and diameter. Rhizobium has the ability to fix atmospheric nitrogen in symbiotic association with host legumes. Bacteria in environment that have high levels of nutrients may be larger than those in nutrient-poor conditions. It converts atmospheric nitrogen into ammonium. Pulses, chickpea, lentil, black gram, green gram, cowpea, pigeon pea, oilseeds, soya bean, groundnut, etc. What is the definition of Rhizobium? Rhizobium is a soil bacteria that fixes atmospheric nitrogen once it finds a base inside the roots of the leguminous plants. You can see the picture, Rhizobium bacteria and nodule. So what is Rhizobium? Rhizobium is the bacteria that live in symbiotic association with the root nodules of the leguminous plants, and fixation of nitrogen cannot be done independently. That is why Rhizobium requires a plant host. Rhizobium is a vital source of nitrogen to agricultural soils, including those in arid regions. They convert dinitrogen into ammonia. Ammonia, being toxic in nature, is rapidly absorbed into organic compounds. Nitrogen fixation helps in increasing soil productivity and soil fertility. The various behavioral factors such as drought, stress, nutrient deficiency, salt, stress, fertilizers, pesticides of nitrogen fixing systems are reviewed. The role and importance of Rhizobium. Rhizobia living in root nodules supply nitrates, nitrites and amino acids to that plant and in exchange get energy in the form of carbohydrates from it. Such a mutually beneficial relationship is called symbiosis. Rhizobia produce nitrogenous compounds from atmospheric nitrogen. However, from this process of nitrogen fixation, they need leguminous plants like beans, sweet pea, soya bean, etc. as host. Beans and pulses are rich in proteins due to nitrogenous compounds made available by Rhizobia. You can see the biotic interaction, abiotic interaction. After harvesting a leguminous crop, the leftover roots and other plant parts are deliberately dumped in farm soil to maintain its bacterial population. The use of Rhizobium has helped to reduce the use of chemical fertilizers and thereby their adverse effects. It has also helped to reduce expenses on fertilizers and thus works to the benefit of farmers. The role of Rhizobium. Rhizobium is the plural form of rhizobia. They are prokaryotes whose main function involves the conversion of stable nitrogen gas in the atmosphere to a biologically useful form. Nitrogenase is the enzyme complex that reduces dinitrogen to ammonia. A huge amount of energy is consumed during the nitrogen fixation, and the nitrogenase enzymes are irreversibly inactivated by oxygen. Acetylene reduction assay is used to measure the nitrogenous activity. A very less portion of species is capable of carrying out nitrogen fixation. That is around 2 genera of archaea, 20 genera of cyanobacteria, and much more. A symbolic amount of nitrogen remains after the harvesting of grains, even though a large amount of nitrogen is removed at a time of harvesting. It is mainly taken into account when there is no usage of nitrogen fertilizers. It is usually seen in less industrialized countries. Nitrogen is one of the most supplied plant nutrients as it is one of the common deficiencies found in soils. Several environmental concerns are raised regarding the supply of nitrogen to the soil. Rhizobium infects the roots of leguminous plants. They are usually found in the soil and produce nodules after infecting the roots of the leguminous plants. As a result, nitrogen gas is fixed from the atmosphere. This nitrogen is made available to the plants that help in their growth and development. When the legume dies, there will be a breakdown of nodules. As a result, rhizobium is released back to the cell where it can affect a new host. Nowadays, seeds are coated with rhizobial solution or powder before sowing. After sowing, rhizobia enter the plantlets. This is called rhizobial inoculation. This experiment has helped in the supply of nitrogen to cereal and other crops besides leguminous crops. The next useful microorganism is yeast. The general characteristics of yeast. Yeast are eukaryotic, single-celled microorganisms. Their size is 3 to 4 micrometer. They reproduce asexually by mitosis and usually show budding. Ability to ferment sugars for the production of ethanol. They are usually unicellular and exist as colonies and used in baking process. How can you define it? A microscopic fungi consists of single oval cells that reproduce by budding and are capable of converting sugar into alcohol and carbohydrate. Yeast fermentations are involved in the manufacture of foods such as bread, beer, wines, vinegar, surface ripened cheese, and yeast are grown for enzymes and for food. Reproduction in yeast cell. Yeast generally reproduced by asexual methods such as budding or fission. Yeast lacks sex organs, that is entheridium and oogonium. Sexual reproduction in yeast is highly variable. The importance of yeast. The yeast have a lot of economic value to the mankind. They have certain beneficial as well as harmful activities. The beneficial ones are, first, food industry. In bread making, it is used. Flavor and quality of bread is attained by selecting different strains of yeast. Fermentation, breakdown of starch and sugar by yeast into carbon dioxide and ethyl alcohol in the absence of oxygen is called alcoholic fermentation. It is used in brewing industry, that is, yeast is added to the malted grains and allowed to ferment. The type of yeast used will affect the type and flavor of beer produced. Commonly used yeast is S. cerevisiae, also known as top fermenting or top cropping yeast. Yeast is naturally present on the skins of grapes and can be used to naturally ferment grape juice into wine. There are many different strains of S. cerevisiae and each will produce a unique flavor characteristic in a finished wine. Industrial ethanol production also yeast is used. In the industry of fermentation, yeast is used not only in food industry to make bread, wine and beer, but also in non-food industries such as biofuel industry to produce ethanol. Yeast is a source of food. Yeast contains nutritive substances and proteins in sufficient quantities. Dried yeast cells contain 40 to 50% of protein. Some strains of yeast have considerable amount of fat. Yeast is a source of vitamins. With ultraviolet rays, they produce vitamin D. Yeast is used in the preparation of vitamin B complex tablets when yeast cells are irradiated. It is used in the manufacture of medicines, lowering high cholesterol. Research showed that taking a specific red yeast product for 2 or 3 months could significantly lower total and bad cholesterol, that is low density lipoprotein. They are also utilized in medicine as a source of enzyme. Bioremediation. A yeast Yerevia lipolytica is used to absorb the toxins released during the production of palm oil and the heavy metals and minerals released in some other industrial processes. Saccharomyces cerevisiae is used for absorption of a pollutant arsenic. Oil spills in oceans are cleaned with help of alkanivorex bacteria. Often alcohol is produced along with sugar in sugar factories. Molasses is produced from sugarcane juice. It is rich in carbohydrates. Molasses is fermented with the help of yeast called Saccharomyces. In this process, ethanol alcohol is produced as a primary product and ester and other alcohols as secondary products. Spirit and other alcohols can be obtained from ethanol. Ethanol is also a smokeless and high quality fuel. Besides molasses, maize, barley and other grains are also used for industrial production of ethanol. Glucose and fructose, the sugars present in grape juice, are also fermented with the help of yeast to produce the alcohol which is used for making wines. Thank you so much.